Hi there. In this video, we're going to go over engagement plans, what they're for, then we're going to make one and use it on a contact record as an example. This is being done live, so there's no script. Any issues we run into, which hopefully are none, we'll just deal with together. And as always, once again, lastly, this is a sandbox environment, which means all of the data you're seeing is not, it's not real. It's all dummy data. This is not our actual Salesforce org. And with that, let's get started. Engagement plan templates are used for kind of to define engagement with people outside our organization, right? So a potential customer, a potential donor, or an actual donor, or whatever, and people outside our organization. Um, and so what you can do in an engagement plan template is set up a series of tasks that can now be used again as a template to create plans time and time again on different records, right? So you create this template with a series of tasks. You use that template on some record, and it'll create all those tasks for you, and it'll schedule them out. So, this is really useful for yourself if maybe you know that every time you engage with this type of constituent or this type of contact um, in the same way, you always create these like 13 tasks and they're always spaced out like this and this is blah blah blah, and it's like, let's just create a template to do that, to do all of that in one or two clicks. So the other reason that may be helpful is because it can expand beyond just you. So maybe you can create templates. Maybe you would want to create templates for your team to share those templates with them to help define how we might go about engaging or cultivating a specific person or a specific relationship, um, and kind of provide that outline, right? For these are the things that you should be doing at this stage. Here are all the tasks. Here are how that works, which can also be useful. A for standardization, if that's kind of what you're looking for, or B, maybe you just hired someone and there are some standard processes for engaging with people that you just want to be able to not only show them, but then actually give them something practical to apply on these records, right? So to create these tasks to help them kind of keep track of everything. And again, and do it automatically and saving a lot of time rather than manually creating all of these same tasks over and over and over again. So with that, we'll get started. And to get started, you'll have to go find the engagement plan template, which you can do by clicking on the app launcher over here and clicking engagement plan templates. There it is. And there are none here. By default, by the way, all engagement plans are private to you when you create them. You can share them with other people, so other people on your team or other people outside your team too, after you've created them. So if you're just starting off, this will probably be empty for you. But to create one, you just click new over here. And I'm just going to give it a name. Let's do creative name. And description. A description. I gave it a description. Ha ha ha. Okay. So, and actually, so I'll quick note here. The description is actually important, especially if you're sharing this with people outside your team to help them just a little bit more insight into like, okay, when is this template supposed to be used and what is it for? Um, this is obviously just an example, so I'm not gonna like go all out with this. But anyway, now on the right here we have a couple options. We have default assignee. So your options are user creating the engagement plan or owner of the object for the engagement plan. What the heck does that mean? So in a second, when I create this template, I'll be able to use it to create plans out of it. And I can create as many plans as I want on different records. When that happens, that plan, not the template, the plan has to be assigned. The plan and its tasks has to be assigned to someone. So this is just saying, hey, when you create this plan, do you want it, and its tasks, do you want it assigning everything to the person who owns the record? So if I create this on a contact record, it would go to the person who owns that contact record and assign everything to that user. Or do I just want it to go to the person actually creating the plan, right? Like, who cares who owns the records? If I'm creating the plan, it should all be assigned to me. So those are your two options there. And it just depends what you're doing and what you're working with. Then you have skip weekends. So if I check that, I'm going to have to say, okay, when we skip them, do I want them rescheduled to Monday or to Friday? Those are your two options there. Again, if you're skipping weekends. And then automatically update child task due date. So if I check that, what's going to happen is, let's say I create, and I'll do it in a second, I create a number of tasks. I create 4 or 5 tasks, and they're all due at different dates. If I finish one early, right? So let's say I have 5 and I finish task 3 early, do I want tasks 2 and 4, the due dates for sorry, did I just say 2 and 4? let me just back up. If I finish task 3 early, do I want tasks 4 and 5, do I want their due date moved up and updated earlier as well, based off how early off I completed task 3? Hopefully that makes sense. So basically this is just saying, hey, if you get done with stuff earlier, do you want us to just move everything up as well that's still left to be completed? And maybe you don't want that. Again, it just depends what you're trying to do. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add some tasks. Initial call. Again, so a lot of what's here should look pretty familiar if you've already worked with tasks, right? So it's like subject, status, comments, type, etc., priority. Status, we're going to leave it as not started. User, I'll get into in a second. Yes, I want an email about it. I want a reminder. Send the reminder at 2 a.m. Type will be call. Priority will say hi. Days after. Okay, so days after means it's referring to the due date. When do you want this due? How many days after creating this plan do you want this task due? So if I create this plan today and leave it blank, that's technically 0. It will be due today. If I say 5 and create the plan today, again, let me differentiate between the plan template and plans I create off the template. I'm talking about plans I create off the template. If I create a plan today and this says 5, this task will be due 5 days after today. So that's how that works. Comments. This is, again, if you're just doing this for yourself, creating these for yourself, maybe you already know what it means by the subject line. But if you're creating this for a team or you're going to share this template, comments, kind of like descriptions, are there to help explain what exactly is supposed to be happening here. So best to explain wherever you can. So anyway, and then the assign to. If you leave assign to blank, it's going to follow the rules up here in the default assignee. If I look for a specific person and set it, then it doesn't matter what the assignee rules are up here for the plan and its tasks. Task 1 will always be assigned, in this case, to Manny every single time. And maybe that's, what you want. Just depends on what you're doing. So a quick example might be like if in sales, right? So maybe why disciple or scheduling. Maybe there's a series of tasks in this template, but when it comes to closing the sale or handling billing or whatever, maybe it should always go, a certain task should always at that point go to Janelle, or it should always go to Rose. So situations like that where certain things are always handled by certain people is where this might be useful. Again, if you leave it blank, it'll just do whatever is set up here. Actually, I'm going to leave that on there. I'm going to leave Manny there. And then I'm going to add another task. Um, send gift. I'm just making everything up. Do. And then I will, so I'm going to leave this at 0. This one will be due 5 days after. This one, actually, I'm going to delete this because I'm going to add a dependent task. And what a dependent task is, I mean, more or less, it's exactly the same thing as every other task with one difference. The difference being that a dependent task has a status of waiting on dependent task, right? So when I create a plan out of this guy, the status, it's not available here, but the status will say waiting on dependent task. It's because it's waiting for task 2 to be completed. Once task 2 is completed, this will change to not started. And in a second, I'll show you why that might be helpful. It's really there just to help keep you organized, but more on that in a bit. And I'm going to call this buy coffee. It'll be a meeting. Hi, why not? Check everything. So even though I can select something here, it'll just always, because it's a dependent task, it will just start off as waiting on dependent task, by the way. Okay, and this one will be due 10 days after. Now I'm going to save. And there is my engagement plan template. If I click over on the related section, I can see all the tasks that are a part of this template, right? So all those tasks I just created and some details about them. And then the actual plans that have been created off of this template. I haven't used this template anywhere, so that's why it says 0. But we're gonna change that in a second. We're gonna go use this. Let's go back to our friend Oswaldo. And let's go over to the engagement tab over here. And there's this engagement plan section. So let's click new. And I'll click that guy. So I had to pick a template, and there it is, the template I just created. And these are all of the records, by the way, that a plan can be applied to. So in this case, it's already associating the plan to Oswaldo because that's the record we're on. But you could also apply plans to accounts, a campaign, case, opportunity, and recurring donations, again, assuming you have access to those objects. So pick my template, it'll go on Oswaldo, I'll click save. And here's the plan. It's assigned to me. There's only one plan here. Here's a link to the plan. And what that looks like, it's not started because none of the tasks in the plan have been completed yet. And there's 3 total tasks in this plan. So if I go over to my the activity timeline over here, I'm going to change this to, oh, there it is, to all time, view more, there it is. These are all the 3 tasks it just created automatically, right? And you can create way more than these and spread them out however you need. I just did 3. And you can see that if you remember the days after field, based off how I set that, here's how it scheduled everything out. So yeah. And if I click on buy coffee, you notice, like I said, the status says waiting on dependent task. That's because it's waiting for send gift to be completed. And that could be helpful if maybe you're over here in the tasks tab. Maybe you're looking at just my open tasks. I have 3, but it's only showing 2. That's because it's not showing the one that's waiting on a dependent task. Because the one that's waiting on a dependent task isn't really open, right? It's not ready to be worked on yet. And it's also not closed. So I'm going to go back to Oswaldo. And I'm going to go to that initial call, mark complete. And then I'm going to go to send gift, mark that complete. And now if I go back to tasks, refresh. Oh, wrong list. My open tasks. Okay, so the other two that were here are already complete, so they're not open. And now buy coffee actually shows up. And originally, I don't know if you caught this, the original due date was October 17th. But because I finished the other ones early, it was updated. Again, that's all based off of the settings I selected when creating the template. Anyway, but now that the dependent task has been completed, buy coffee is now in a not started status, which means it shows up here. It's open. So those dependent tasks are really there to help you kind of keep things like this organized. So you don't just see everything, because why do you want to see tasks that you know you're not even supposed to be touching yet? Because you need to, finish task X before you can get to Y. Anyway, so that could be useful. Now, final thing, maybe you want to share that template with your team so that other people can use it. So I'll go back to the engagement plan templates. There's the template, create a name. And also, if I want to edit this, I can click over here and it should take me right back to the original screen we were working on. But anyway, if you want to share this with your team, by default, any templates you create, engagement plan templates you create, will be private just for you. So that's fine if, that's what you want to do. But if you want to use this to help other people on your team or to help train other staff on how to do, go about certain processes with external constituents, and kind of help set standards, you need to share this. So you can click that by going to sharing, search for the user, or maybe you want to search for a specific role, which means you need to kind of know what the roles are, or maybe role and internal subordinates, which just means literally everyone under that person, right? So if I wanted to share this with everyone in, let's say, the foundation, then I would, so I picked role and internal subordinates, and I'm going to pick foundation president, right? Which is different than this one, which is just everyone in net ministries. And I'm going to select the access level, which read only just means you can see it and use it, but you cannot edit the template or make changes to it, add tasks, change settings, etc. Read write means you will be able to make changes and update and modify it. So if there's a template that's more collaborative, or certain people should be able to tweak it, pick the right settings. You'd have to go through this again. So I'm going to select read only and then save. So now when people go to the engagement plan templates and select all, they should see it show up here, and they should also see it show up when they are creating a new plan. Selecting a template should show up here. And that is pretty much it for engagement templates. As always, if you run into any issues, have any problems, or have more questions, please contact helpdesk@netusa.org.